January 5th, 2023. Also wishing a Happy New Year 2023 to all. First order of business is call to order. Second order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we get into new business, I want to give a warm welcome to our newest board members, Dave Hartsfield and Tom Lowy. Thank you for stepping up in service to our community. It is most greatly appreciated. Okay, new business. Appointment of chair and vice chair. Do we have a nomination for chair?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. It's incredibly humbling still. Okay. As chair, I would like to renominate Terry for vice chair, if she's willing. And do I, Terry?
I've quite honestly forgotten that I was vice chair.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Terry. Okay. Next order of business is applications for board review. First one is HARB 2023-01, 222 Windermere Avenue, exterior renovations. Before we get into the presentation, I would like to bring up some basic background on this property. According to Radnor Township records, they say it is a contributing property. It was built circa 1894. The architect was Horace Trumbauer. Now I'm assuming what I do know about Horace Trumbauer is that this is before he hit the big time. So he was probably practicing solo at that time, but it would have been specifically a design that he did. That's the sense that I get considering the date of this house. The builder was Wendell and Smith. According to Radnor Historical Society's Historic Resource Survey, they say the historic name of this house is a colonial house. It was built circa 1893 to 1894. The architect, Horace Trumbauer. The builder, Wendell and Smith. According to Delaware County property records, they say it was built in 1900. I tell you, sometimes with county records, they're all over the place. But the building area is 3,285 square feet living. Construction is stone. The exterior walls are siding, aluminum, and vinyl. Okay, with that being said, please introduce yourself and share your plans with us. Okay. Would you like a mic?
I don't know. Do I need one?
Well, you can walk around with it.
Oh, gee. I'm not quite sure that I'm that prepared to walk around.
Okay. Well,
Is it this way I walk around? That's the best you're going to get.
okay.
Sorry. Uncalled for. So as you said, this is mainly the focus of this is for an exterior renovation. The current exterior of the home, according to the information that we presented to you folks, is a vinyl siding, triple 3-inch vinyl siding, horizontal, with aluminum trim and asphalt shingles. In addition to reskinning the outside, we're also looking to change out the windows, replace the windows, all of the windows, all of the siding, all of the trim, all of the shingles. Okay.
One quick question. I just want to clarify that the existing windows there are replacement windows? Am I correct?
As best as I can tell, yes.
Okay, so none of those windows are like in their original form?
It doesn't appear to me that they are.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And so what we presented is a set of drawings that would show what the new exterior would look like, as you've all been given as part of the package. We are not adding to the home. We're not putting an addition on the home. We're simply stripping the home of its exterior finishes, exterior weatherproofing, and adding the new materials to that. The materials that we're proposing to be put in its place, first and foremost, are an Anderson window, again, of which you have an example of in your presentation that we gave to you. Anderson 400 series wood-right windows. The home does currently have some decorative grills on the front, of which, again, within your packet, you'll see that we are duplicating that style in those few windows with those grills. The window is a wood window with a Firex clad. I'm sure you're familiar with the Anderson product, or at least the name.
I was looking at your plans. The thing that I want to commend you on is bringing the lancet shapes back on that house. I could definitely see the inspiration with one of your picks for 227 Windermere, but it's good to see that being brought back.
Great, thank you. Thank you. As I mentioned, those are the windows that we're proposing to use. We are planning to replace all the windows. Now, there is only a few of the windows that are getting that type of grille pattern on the front. The rest of the windows are depicted on the drawing as the type of grills that we'll be using, particularly the back and the sides.
Your plans on that table, because we are televised,
Oh, gee.
so,
That's what that is.
yeah. And, you know, as you make, as you make comments, you know, you can, you know, just point or whatever.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier.
No, that's
Yeah.
okay. I
So
maybe
there
should
might
have.
be one or two
I
people
should have
like
come
watching
last
us.
month to see how the normal facet goes, or maybe let you guys go first. So you can see here that this is the type of grill pattern that we're showing on certain windows in the front of the home here. They are currently of that style and of that grill pattern. And so those windows on the front that have those, we're using this same again. And this is showing the style as a shop drawing from the Anderson Company. In here as well, it is showing that the window is a full divided light. And so rather than a simulated divided light, which would just basically have a grill, this has a grill pattern in between the glass. Again, in addition to applied to the outside. This is just additional information on the brand specific. That's indicated here on your drawing for the type of window that is. Additionally, the home currently has, let's do it this way, a horizontal 3-inch. It's a great picture right there that would show the type that it is. It's all vinyl. And then all this trim that you see here is all aluminum. Currently, we were not part of that renovation, assuming that it's a renovation. Doubtful that that was back that way when the home was built. But we were impressed by the amount of character that they kept. I would assume that was as a condition here when they reskinned it. But the home has a lot of nice bends and folds that continue to add to the character to the home because it is quite wide, and if they were eliminated, it would make the house look much more plain. We are intending to keep those same character pieces, those same bends and folds, if you will, to create the style that you currently see there. This is just indicating, as you directed, to show some of the exteriors of the surrounding homes. 217 Windermere. Currently it's a stucco home, showing the grill patterns, as you can see here on this photo. This home, directly across the street, is a sided home. This home, which is on one side, has a combination of a couple of different materials, but it too is sided. And there you can see the type of material that we're currently suggesting or asking for approval on is to have shapes on the home, or shingles as the CertainTeed company calls them. Again, different combinations in surrounding homes of masonry, aluminum, different types of trims, horizontal siding. And so there's not one pattern. Of course, that's what makes it interesting in that area. All kinds of different styles. And we feel that the style that we're asking to change this to, basically, instead of horizontal siding, use a shape, is very much in character with the rest of the homes that are surrounding.
I have a question. I got this email from a citizen of our township, and he had a comment that I want to share with you, and what your opinion might be.
Okay.
He thought the replacement of the non-original aluminum horizontal siding is a huge plus. I wanted to mention that.
Was there?
And well, and the comment that I wanted to share with you. However, he writes, the use of cedar-style shingles over all surfaces doesn't reflect the original design. Now, again, this is his opinion, but he should know. When Horace Trumbauer designed this particular style of house, he created a hierarchy by applying very tight horizontal clapboard on the first floor surfaces below the trim, separating the first and second floors. And cedar shingles on surfaces above.
Okay.
Do you have any comment that you'd like to make?
Well, I'll admit that I don't know how it was originally faced when it was built. I do not know that. Wasn't able to find the research for the material of what it was. However, when it comes to architectural styling, my opinion is that the shake or the shingle has a far more attractive character to it than does the same type of horizontal siding that you would see in a new development home built by a tract home builder. Now,
Absolutely agree with you.
maybe that's a little forward, but I just think this home, while it may not match exactly what it is now, today, after we reskin it, I think this is a far greater character, a far richer look, and I think it adds to and actually fits in to the landscape of the other homes around it much better. Those are my thoughts. So thanks for sharing that.
Any
So-
further comments or questions from the board? Do you have something you'd like to?
No, all I
You
was
done?
going to do is just kind of go through the rest of the materials if you'd like.
Oh.
The siding, of which you've got there, an example of, and then the shingles.
I think you did a nice job on this.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
I think it's 3 giant steps in the right direction.
Wonderful. Thank you. Feel like Neil Armstrong.
Definitely. Okay, any further comments or questions from the board? No? Do we have a motion?
Motion to accept the plans as,
Or certificate of appropriateness.
well, give me an example to go by.
It's terribly stilted words, but however, that's the thing asked us to use, so you get your first shot. Certificate of appropriateness.
Motion for a certificate of appropriateness.
Okay, we have a motion for certificate of appropriateness. Is there a second? Okay, we have a second. All those in favor? I also say aye. The motion carries. The board recommends a certificate of appropriateness. Thank you for presenting to us today.
Appreciate it. I was ill-prepared. I didn't realize this was being videotaped. My little walk around the table maybe wasn't appropriate, but my apologies.
Well, I'm sure those two people who are probably viewing are going to get back to you. No. Next order of business is Harb 2023-02, 408 Oak Lane, left side and rear addition. Before we get into the presentation, I would like to give some basic background on this property. According to Radnor Township records, they say it is a contributing property. It was built 1885 to 1889. The architect was Price Brothers. The builder was Wendell and Smith. According to Radnor Historical Society's Historic Resource Survey, they say the historic name is a Bruin Lodge. Okay, good. Did you ever get that brochure?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I
you
actually
did?
have it, and it's on the plan.
Did you get that from Radnor Historical Society? Oh, so you got that. Okay, yeah, it's very informative, okay. It was built between circa 1888 to 1889. The architect was Price Brothers. The builder was Wendell and Smith. According to Delaware County property records, they say it was built in 1890. The building area is 2,201 square feet living. The construction is frame. The exterior walls are wood. Please introduce yourself and share your plans with us.
My name's Alex Shaka. I work for James Design. I am a Drexel grad, and I've been working for James for the past 8 years. With me is the homeowner, Ben Snyder, as well as Jessica Sengel, J&M, and I'll let Jess introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Senker from J&M Preservation Studio. I was brought on by James Design as a consultant for them to look at this project with a preservation lens. I'm a graduate of UPenn, master's program in preservation, licensed architect, have my own firm. My business partner is a structural engineer. We do a lot of work in the Philadelphia area and outside of Philadelphia as well. And I've been doing this for about 20 years.
Okay, so as you mentioned before, Frank Price had designed the structure, and Wendell Smith had constructed it. They actually
Do you want to use this guy? This is on?
Can I bend it? Is that all right?
Okay, I just need my
Shoes,
hands.
yes.
Yeah. So as you can see here, which I will also hand out as an addendum, figure 4, this is the brochure that you had mentioned before that Radnor had actually publicized when they first released the design concept. And we thought this was interesting, but the way they described the home was saying that this design was designed to be the cheapest house we are willing to build for sale. And we just thought that was ironic. So in other words, it's a very modest home. And with that being said, Ben has a very young family, and they love the home that they are in. They want to maintain the existing historic integrity. They want to grow within the house. It has been a long and grueling 4 years for them to get to where they are right now. They had to go through FEMA, considering their entire yard was in the FEMA flood zone, as well as going through zoning prior to us even getting here. So that kind of dictated how we got our footprint for the house. So what I will do is show you where we are in terms of on the street. And we are the first Bruin Lodge home when approaching from the southwest side. You will see there's a lot of vegetation on the left side of the home. And this is where we're proposing to do the left side addition, where you will see it from the front of the house. When you are approaching the southwest side going northeast, it is very hard to see the left side of the house and even the front door, frankly, until you are standing in front of the home. You actually have to avoid that area for parking because there is so much vegetation growing into the street. In terms of what the house currently looks like, it is probably one of the homes that has been the least renovated in terms of all 6 of the houses. You will see that they maintained the gambrel roof and then altered to the gable and then flipped the gambrel roof and maintained the existing siding as well as the gargoyle brackets, which are found as different animals on all 6 of the homes. Price was known for doing this. And then flipping to the left side of the house, this is the area where we intend on adding our addition. The point of this addition is to be as least invasive as possible, so this is why Jess will review with you, but why we're extending the gambrel as opposed to introducing a new roof line. We just didn't feel like that was appropriate. You will also find that on the rear of the home, there was an addition, and it's very clear to us that this is not an original addition, as the foundation is brick as opposed to stone. And in terms of the characteristics of the house, the windows don't match, the shallow shed doesn't match, just the way it was introduced into the house makes it kind of very abrupt when you come around the corner because you can tell that it's not fitting. And then you get to the left side of the house, or excuse me, the right side of the home, and you have this side porch. Now, in terms of the existing materials that are on the house, typically there was pebble dash on the left side of the home, but in previous renovations, it has been covered with siding. Our intention is to reintroduce that onto the left side addition to bring some historic aspects back into the design of the house. And then all the Bruin Lodges have these structural stone columns in the front of the home. Now, proceeding from the southwest side, walking up towards the Snyder residence, we have a very large variety of homes on the street. But I will point out the Bruin Lodges in terms of kind of their different characteristics. Now, all of these homes have expanded in some sort of way, and I'm assuming they haven't been in the FEMA, haven't gone through the FEMA restrictions because Jess will show you shortly, you can see how much they have expanded towards the rear side yards and towards the back of the home, which this house physically cannot.
I'm curious, just have a quick question.
Yes.
On Oak Lane, that's a flood zone again?
Yep.
All of it, or just certain?
Currently, our property is.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that, thank you.
So that was part of the struggle in the beginning of the project. So you can see as you flip through that 410, 412 all have different aspects. So for instance, 412 has the front porch, which the other remaining 5 Roan lodges do not have the front porch where it projects off the home. Another item I would like to point out is that on 418, we actually have on the left side elevation, you have 2 roof styles as opposed to 1. And then you also have the second floor cantilevering over the first floor right here in the porch, which was an original design element, as you can see from the drawing that the Price brothers had publicized. And just to show the remaining homes on the block. These are the opposing homes on the street. Okay, and then I will have Jess introduce the design elements.
Thanks, Alex. So one of the really interesting things about the Bruin Lodge style is this rhythm that it has on the street, which is the gambrel, the steep gable, and then a side gambrel. And all the houses have it to some degree. Some of them, like Alex was pointing out before, some of them have a little bit of differences there. The windows on the first floor are a little different in some of them. One of the houses has a projecting front porch. 418 has that double roof style on the end, and it also has a shed dormer roof, right in the front of the property. So if you look actually back at this satellite view, one of the things I wanted to point out is, here is our 408. I know this is kind of small, and Alex is going to pass out some other ones so you can actually see them a little bit better. So 408, like she said here, has a wooded side lot. And from what she was just talking about too, there's a very small amount of additions or modifications that have been made to the house besides the rear shed addition that was added to the back. A lot of the other houses, like I said, they share some of the similar roof lines, but they have other projections off the back that come around the side. One of the other neighboring properties wraps around, and that's where their garage is connected. And like I said before, 418 is the one that has the shed dormer off the front. Yeah, that's a great picture. So with that being said, looking at this project on a more of a global scale and how it relates to the other houses in the row, we wanted to be very mindful of how we were going to deal with the side addition because it does face the front of the house. So we wanted to make sure that we were being as sympathetic as possible because you're going to be able to see it from the street coming from one direction, but not necessarily from the other. So with that being said, we wanted to kind of not interrupt the rhythm with the gambrel, peak, and side gambrel, but rather add more of this gambrel off to the side and set it back so we're delineating from the original historic property to what the new addition would be. And the reason why we would want to do that is because like any good preservationist, you want to follow the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for the treatment of historic properties. And one of the guidelines is basically saying, okay, if you need to make an addition or a change to a property, making sure that there is some clear delineation between the old and the new, but we also want to make sure that we have architectural cohesion as well. So let me just walk you through some of the design elements that we were looking at. So this is just the elevations of the existing home the way it stands now. Like I said, this is that rear addition that was added. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me move my notes. This is the little rear addition that we were talking about. And then, again, this is the rhythm that I was speaking about with the row of houses on the block. the gambrel, the peak, and the side gambrel. And what we'd like to do is basically extend this side gambrel, give them a little bit more space on that side of the house, and then continue with the additions coming off behind there. So this would be the front elevation. This would be the addition to the home, and like I said, we'd be setting this back by a few feet, I think like 3.5, 4 feet, which is in keeping with the setbacks that we already have on the house already. Can you see that? Yeah. So the current setbacks are a little bit over 4 feet. We're at 3.5 now to set this whole element back. So we're kind of pushing it back into the landscape, again, kind of protected by the wooded area there. And we're also dropping the roof line down a little bit, so there's that clear delineation between the old and the new. But the goal is to not break up that rhythm of having the gambrel, the gambrel gable and the side gambrel roof line. The other thing that we were talking about adding back to the property, because we know that it was there historically, is the pebble dash stucco. So originally the pebble dash stucco would have been here on the first floor. That has since been covered by the shingles. We don't plan on removing the shingles. It's a change that's been made over time. History is not static. We'd like to incorporate what has already been done to the home and respect those changes that have been made over time. But bringing back the pebble dash would bring back a piece of an architectural material that has since been lost. The other thing I'd like to point out too is the stone water table. Continuing that stone water table across, so we have, again, architectural cohesion, and putting it back down to the first floor level. Because in our conversations with Greg Pritchard from the Radnor Historical Society, he had mentioned that originally that the stone water table would have been at the first floor line only, and that this was extended up. I would like to get some feedback on that from you guys, because I have some other thoughts about that too, so I'll come back to that. So again, doing the pebble dash stucco on the side here, and then wrapping it around to the left side elevation. Again, keeping with some of the architectural elements we see not only in this house, but the rest of the houses in the block, and more specifically 418, which is at the end, we would want to do this double roof line, kind of what they have. So now we're kind of bookending the row of these houses with 408 and 418 kind of having this similar double roof line on the side of the house. And then as we come around to the back, we'd be reintroducing that open porch that the original design would have had. So this would be a second floor overhang and reincorporating that porch.
I would like to make 2 comments.
Sure.
I think definitely this design keeps within the rhythm and flow. I think you established that, definitely hands down.
Good.
And also too, keeping the roof lines of the main house prominent with the addition is wonderful.
Oh, good.
But I do have one other quick question.
Sure.
What is the total square footage of the proposed left side addition?
Do you know
Do you have
I
that?
have the dimensions.
So just of the left side addition, we're looking at 22, 20, and then
By 12,
by 12 and a half. Yeah. So it's not even as wide as the original side, the original side gambrel.
All right, thank you. What we try to seek in general is with an addition, and it's kind of like a rule of thumb. It's not anything cut and dry, but other board members, one in particular that I remember, he served as chair before, and he always had like a rule of thumb in his meetings.
Sure.
Where if someone were to do an addition, looking at the dimensions and the square footage,
Yeah.
to have the addition in general, whether no matter where it is,
Right.
to be less than like 30% of the total square footage of the main house.
Okay. I don't know if we have that. I have no idea off the top of
No.
my head. But we could definitely figure that
Yeah.
out. Okay, so let me continue just to the back of the house. So moving to the back, like I said, we were going to re-envision that rear addition because, one, it seems very after the fact. It's not very functional, and it's not necessarily keeping in style with the house. So this would be the new rear of the home. And then going around to the corner on the right side elevation, this is the extension of the house. And then this is the existing, this is actually flipped, but this is the existing part of the house. So that side porch and everything that you see from the front street, all of that would still remain. So you'd still see that porch and everything. And then just some general details about the Marvin windows. The idea is, actually, if I can go back to the front page, is to keep pretty much all the windows that they have now, with the exception of the ones that Alex was pointing out towards the back. These other windows that don't necessarily don't really match the feel of the home or the style of the rest of the house. So those are the ones that be replaced. And then when we do the addition, we're talking about pulling this design element of these windows with the transom over top into the new addition coming forward back here. So with that being said, I don't want to take up too much time. I want to open it more to questions. I think one of the questions that I wanted to go back to is the stone water table, and that having this, not only the line separated, but wondering what your thoughts may be on, instead of having it come down here, is to continue it all the way across. And I know the communication that we've had with Greg, he had suggested that it was always at this level. But looking at the other houses on the block, I'm not entirely sure that's true. So I'd like to take a deeper look at that and maybe have a quick sidebar with Greg on that. But that's one of my only other things I'd like to get some feedback from you guys on. Because all the other ones have it
No,
up to that window
I
level.
think what he was saying was, in terms of keeping the proportions and the characteristics of each portion different, was to mirror what was happening over here.
Yeah, I'm wondering,
Left
though, if it makes more sense to bring this back up as we carry it around. But that's, something for further discussion if necessary. So I hope with what we're proposing is, like I said, in keeping with the rhythm on the block, trying to have a light hand or a light touch on this historic property, and respecting the district that it's in and respecting the other houses on the street.
Any further comments or questions from the board?
I would only have one comment with regard to proposition.
My husband told me I have a very loud voice, so I never think I need a microphone. In any event, proportion, more with regard to the lot size sometimes than the size of the house. Sometimes the size of the house very much needs a larger than 30% to be proportionate. It was built wrong in the first place, so to speak.
Yeah.
But then you look at lot size.
Yeah.
And what is proportionate, not. And we did not have Doyle Road under our jurisdiction, needless to say, but that was a house that was expanded way beyond anything the neighborhood had ever seen, vastly priced beyond anything the neighborhood ever hoped or dreamed.
Yeah.
It sold. Only the Lord knows how, but it did sell. But that's the kind of thing that, had it fallen under our jurisdiction, we would have questioned proportion and the size of the addition, because it didn't match.
Yeah. I think with this property, respective to the other houses that are on the street, the lots, I think, especially like 418 is much larger. I think the neighboring property is also either the same size as yours or maybe very close to the same size. And like I've shown in the satellite view, they have a lot more building on their property than 408 already has. So we didn't think that we were expanding the house beyond what was already present on the block.
And just to add to what Jess was saying, where the addition is currently placed on the left side of the home, there is about a 3-foot patio that we are,
Basically
Building
building on
on
top
top of.
of, yeah.
so it's not new impervious surface. It's already there, it's already in your vision when you are approaching the front door. And in terms of the addition off the rear of the home, the existing garage is in dismay.
It's putting it lightly.
Yeah, it's being removed, it got approval for being removed. And that square footage is getting added to the home. So we aren't adding any new square footage. We are taking up we're actually adding square footage back to the lot. We're not building on the entire impervious surface that we currently have.
Yeah, but I think to answer your question in terms of proportion of the building on the lot, I think it's fair. I think it meets it. Any other? Thank you.
Thanks.
Alex did all the work. She gets all the credit.
Just help.
Okay. Are there any further comments or questions from the board? All righty. Do we have a motion?
Motion for a certificate of appropriateness.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for certificate of appropriateness. The motion was seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I also say aye. The motion carries. The board recommends a certificate of appropriateness. And I would also like to say it was very well done presentation,
Thank you.
Thank you.
very thorough.
Thanks.
Thanks. We tried our best.
Okay, and thank you for presenting to us today.
I'm sorry?
Okay, I'd like to bring up a point of old business. I'd like to bring up a point of old business. I'd like to share this with my fellow board members. Well, Terry, you already know. And also with our community. After many years of advocacy by our board, the Radnor Township Historic and Architectural Review Board now has community notification via a posted sign on properties that come before our board. And the sign will be posted like a week prior, I believe. The Radnor Board of Commissioners passed this in November 2022 by a vote of 6-1. We were advocating for that for a long, long time. Okay. Before we adjourn, I would like to mention that the next HARB meeting is scheduled for February 1st, 2023 at 6:30. Applications for the February 1st meeting must be submitted on or before January 17, 2023. And also, before we adjourn, I'd like to give a little bit of levity. Not sure if the new folks know, but we have an unofficial mascot for our board. His name's Rusty. And one of these meetings, I'm going to have to re-up him. It's Terry's dog. He's a Norwegian Elkhound.
Rusty,
If he still wants to,
I'll bring him next time.
if he still wants to, too. But I thought I'd, share that, too, that, there were times during the pandemic we needed to laugh. Right, Terry?
Our
Oh.
virtual meeting days.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, with that being said, we're adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.